The sky over what remained of New York City was the color of ash. Captain Peter Mason stood on the observation deck of the USS Relentless, watching as the last transport ships lifted people from the dying Earth. His weathered face showed little emotion, but his eyes held all the sorrow in the world. "Captain, the final civilian transport has cleared the atmosphere," said Lieutenant Olivia Winters, standing at attention beside him. Peter nodded slowly. "How many made it onto this last wave?" "Just under 10,000, sir. That brings our total to 10 million across the fleet. 10 million out of billions." The number hung between them like a ghost. Earth had been dying for a century. First came the floods that swallowed coastlines, then the droughts that turned farmlands to dust. The resource wars followed, then the famines. By the time the nations of the world united to build the Exodus fleet, it was already too late for most of humanity. "Begin final departure sequence," Peter ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of the command. Olivia hesitated. "Sir, there are still people down there. The transmissions—" "I know, Lieutenant." Peter's hands gripped the railing until his knuckles turned white. "But we have our orders. The fleet launches today. Anyone not aboard is left behind." The USS Relentless was the command ship of humanity's Exodus fleet. 12 massive colony ships surrounded it, each carrying nearly 1 million people in cryo-sleep. 20 smaller military vessels formed a protective ring around them. This was all that would remain of humanity, a fragile flotilla heading for a planet they called New Eden, 20 light-years away. As the final countdown began, Peter retreated to his quarters. On his desk sat a framed photo of his wife and daughter. They had died in the Seattle floods 15 years ago. In some ways, Peter had died with them. Perhaps that's why he had been chosen to lead this mission. A man with nothing left to lose. The ship rumbled as its engines prepared for the jump to light speed. Peter opened his terminal and recorded what would be the final official message from Earth. "This is Captain Peter Mason of the USS Relentless. Earth date August 17th, 2157. The Exodus is complete. May whoever finds this recording know that we did not abandon our home by choice. We left because we had to. We left behind automated defense systems and warning beacons. Earth is under the protection of humanity, even in our absence. We will return when we can. Earth is not free for taking." He ended the recording and sent it to Lieutenant Winters for the official log. Miles below, on the surface of the dying planet, John Carter watched the lights of the Exodus fleet grow smaller in the night sky. He was among the millions left behind. Some by choice, others by circumstance or bad luck. John had missed the transport that would have taken him to the fleet. Now he stood with hundreds of others in what was once Central Park, watching their last hope disappear. "They really left us," whispered a woman beside him. Her name was Karen Smith, a doctor who had stayed behind until the last moment to treat the sick. "They had no choice," John said, though the words felt hollow. The remaining people of Earth had perhaps a few decades left before the planet became completely uninhabitable. They would live out their days in the ruins of civilization, watching the world crumble around them. As the Exodus fleet prepared for light speed, Lieutenant Olivia Winters began her first entry in the fleet's historical record. "We carry with us more than just people," she wrote. "We carry Earth's legacy, its art, music, literature, and history. We carry its plants and animals in vast genetic banks. We carry its languages and cultures in our memories, and we carry its pain in our hearts. We are not just travelers seeking a new home. We are refugees of a world we destroyed." The observation deck was full of officers watching the final view of Earth. Many wept openly. Some prayed. Others stood in silent grief. "Jump sequence initiating in 30 seconds, came the announcement over the speakers. Peter Mason returned to the observation deck just in time. He stood tall, a pillar for his crew to lean on. 20 seconds, sir," said Olivia, her voice breaking slightly. "Do you think we'll ever come back?" 10 seconds. Peter looked at the blue-green world below them, now scarred with brown deserts and gray dead zones. 5 seconds. "Yes, Lieutenant," he said firmly. One day we will return. Jump sequence initiated. The stars stretched into lines as the fleet made the jump, leaving Earth behind. What no one on the fleet knew was that they were being watched. From the dark side of Mars, a scout ship of the Vexar collective observed the human exodus with great interest. The Vexar were a species of insect-like beings who traveled the galaxy in search of resources to mine. "The planet appears to be abandoned," said drone operator Kazit-T7 to Commander Vrax. Commander Vrax's compound eyes gleamed with anticipation. "Scan for remaining life forms. Scanning shows minimal technological civilization remaining. Some primitive settlements, nothing that would pose a threat. And those defense systems the humans mentioned in their transmission, rudimentary. Nothing our fleet cannot handle." Commander Vrax clicked his mandibles together. "Perfect. Wait until the human fleet is beyond detection range, then signal the mining fleet. That blue world is exactly what we've been searching for, rich in minerals and practically undefended. What of the warning beacons? The humans claim the planet remains under their protection." Commander Vrax made a dismissive gesture with his upper limbs. "The humans are gone. Their warnings are meaningless. By their own admission, they destroyed their world. They have no right to claim what they abandoned." Within days of humanity's departure, the first Vexar mining ships entered Earth's atmosphere, easily destroying the automated defense systems put in place by the Exodus fleet. The warning beacons were silenced one by one. The Vexar saw Earth as nothing more than a resource to be exploited. They did not see the libraries still standing, the art in museums, the empty homes with photos still on the walls. They did not understand what Earth meant to the humans who had left it behind. They did not understand that some things, once taken, would be reclaimed with unstoppable fury. And as the USS Relentless led humanity toward its new home among the stars, a timer had begun, counting down to the day when humanity would discover what had become of the home they had left behind. 75 years had passed since humanity fled Earth. New Eden had proven to be everything they had hoped for, a world with clean air, fresh water, and fertile soil. The colony had grown from the original settlement into 3 thriving cities with 2 smaller colonies established on nearby planets. Dr. Samantha Miller walked through the garden outside the Stellar Communications Array, enjoying the morning sunshine. At 42, she was the youngest head of communications the United Colonial Authority had ever appointed. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and her eyes were tired from another night of scanning the stars. "Dr. Miller," called a voice. She turned to see her assistant, Ben Walsh, running toward her. His face was flushed with excitement. "What is it, Ben?" "The long-range sensors picked up something, a signal from the direction of Earth." Samantha's heart skipped a beat. In 75 years, there had been no signals from Earth. The last generation born there was now elderly. Earth had become a distant memory, a story told to children. Inside the communications center, technicians worked frantically at their stations. On the main screen was a wave pattern pulsing steadily. "It's definitely artificial," said Ben. "But it's not human in origin." Samantha studied the pattern. "Can we decode it?" "Not yet. But there's something else." Ben brought up another screen. "We detected these energy signatures around Earth's orbit. They match no known human technology." Samantha reached for her comm device. "Get me Admiral Collins, now." Admiral Frank Collins had been born on the journey from Earth to New Eden. At 74, his body was showing signs of age, but his mind remained sharp. When Samantha showed him the signals, his face grew grim. "You're certain these aren't coming from the defense systems we left behind?" "Positive, sir. This is something else entirely." The Admiral's office fell silent. Outside the window, children played in a park, laughing and carefree. None of them had ever seen Earth except in pictures. "We need to send a ship," Samantha said. "Finally." "Out of the question," replied Collins immediately. "We have barely enough ships to protect our colonies. With all due respect, sir, something is happening at Earth. Something we need to understand." Admiral Collins looked at the signal pattern again. After a long moment, he nodded. "One ship, small crew, reconnaissance only. 3 days later, Commander E. Ryan Miller stood on the bridge of the Pathfinder, a small reconnaissance vessel. As Samantha's brother, he had volunteered immediately for the mission. "All systems ready, Commander," said Heather Garcia, the ship's communications specialist. "Jump sequence programmed for Earth's solar system." Ryan nodded. "Let's find out what's waiting for us." The journey would take 3 weeks, even with the advanced engines. As the Pathfinder disappeared into the darkness of space, Samantha watched from the observation deck of the colonial station. "Be careful, Ryan," she whispered. Life in the colonies continued. In the capital city of New Hope, children learned about Earth in their schools. They saw pictures of blue oceans and green forests, cities and mountains. Earth had become almost mythical to them, a paradise that humanity had lost through its own mistakes. Alan Rodriguez, a brilliant young engineer, was developing new weapon systems for the Colonial Defense Force. Greg Martinez trained soldiers in the art of ground combat, though no one really expected to need such skills. Dr. Lisa Ward worked in the medical center, researching cures for the few diseases that affected colonists on New Eden. None of them knew that the Pathfinder was about to change everything. 20 days into their journey, the Pathfinder's crew caught their first glimpse of Earth through their long-range sensors. "That can't be right," said Ryan, staring at the screen. "Run the scan again." Heather's fingers flew over her console. "Scan confirmed, sir. Those are artificial structures in Earth orbit, massive ones." As they drew closer, the horrifying truth became clear. Earth was surrounded by mining stations. Huge ships moved between the planet and the stations, carrying resources extracted from the surface. "My God," whispered Ryan. "They're strip mining Earth." The crew watched in stunned silence as the Pathfinder's cameras showed the surface of their ancestral home. Where there had once been forests and fields, now there were only massive quarries. The oceans had been partly drained in places to access. "Minerals beneath, sir," said Heather urgently. "We're being scanned." Before Ryan could order evasive action, a bright beam shot out from one of the stations, bathing the Pathfinder in harsh light. "Shields up," Ryan ordered. But it was too late. The ship shuddered as it was caught in a tractor beam. Alarms blared throughout the vessel. "Send a message to New Eden," Ryan told Heather. "Send everything we've seen." Heather worked frantically at her station as the rest of the crew prepared for the worst. "Message away, sir. Encrypted on the quantum channel." The Pathfinder was pulled toward one of the massive stations. Through the viewport, they could now see the beings operating the mining equipment. They looked like giant insects, with segmented bodies and multiple limbs. "The Vexar," said the ship's science officer, looking at the database. "A spacefaring species known for resource extraction. They've been encountered at the edges of known space, but never this close to human territory. Armed. Vexar soldiers boarded the Pathfinder within hours. Most of the crew was killed immediately. Ryan and Heather were taken prisoner, dragged through the station's corridors to holding cells. "Why are you here?" demanded a Vexar commander, its voice a series of clicks and hisses translated by a device on its thorax. "Earth is under human protection," Ryan said defiantly. "You have no right to be here." The Vexar commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "Protection? You abandoned this world. We found it empty, its resources wasted. By galactic law, abandoned worlds are open to claim." "We left warning beacons," Ryan insisted. "Automated, defenses, primitive technology easily destroyed. Your claim was weak, your species is weak." As Ryan and Heather were taken to separate cells for examination, the quantum message they had sent was racing across space toward New Eden. 3 weeks later, in the communications center on New Eden, Samantha Miller received the encrypted transmission. As the images from Earth appeared on her screen, she covered her mouth in horror. Admiral Collins called an emergency meeting of the Colonial Council. The images from the Pathfinder were shown on large screens, Earth being systematically torn apart, its resources extracted by the insect-like Vexar. "They've taken my brother prisoner," Samantha said, her voice shaking. "Him and one other crew member. The rest were killed." The council chamber erupted in angry shouts. Some called for immediate military action. Others argued that they lacked the resources for a fight. Admiral Collins raised his hand for silence. For 75 years we've been building new lives here. We've created something good. He paused, looking at the images of Earth. But we made a promise when we left. Earth remains under humanity's protection. We will not abandon it twice. The room fell silent. I am authorizing Operation Homecoming, the Admiral continued. We will return to Earth, and we will take it back. As the meeting ended, Samantha approached Collins. What about Ryan and the other prisoner? The Admiral's face was grim. We'll get them back, Dr. Miller. But first we need to prepare. The Vexar have no idea what they've awakened. News of Earth's desecration spread through the colonies like wildfire. Within days, everyone had seen the images sent back by the Pathfinder, the massive Vexar mining operations, the stripped continents, the polluted oceans. People gathered, in homes and public squares, watching the footage with tears in their eyes and anger in their hearts. In the main colony hall of New Hope, Admiral Collins stood before the Colonial Council. The room was packed with citizens demanding action. The Vexar have taken what isn't theirs, Collins said, his voice echoing through the hall. They ignored our warnings, they killed our people, and they are destroying our homeworld. A council member stood up. Admiral, I understand your anger. We all feel it. But we have 3 colonies to protect and limited military resources. We can't fight an enemy this powerful. Collins nodded to a technician, who brought up new images on the main screen. These are scans of the Vexar mining fleet. Yes, they outnumber us. Yes, they have advanced technology. But they've spread themselves thin across Earth's surface, and they don't expect us to return. In the crowd, Alan Rodriguez watched with keen interest. At 32, he was the top engineer in the Colonial Defense Force. His mind was already racing with ideas. Next to him stood Greg Martinez, a veteran soldier who had trained half the Colonial Security Forces. His face was hard as stone as he looked at the images of Earth. I need volunteers, Collins continued. Engineers to develop new weapons, soldiers willing to train for ground combat, medical personnel to prepare for casualties. This won't be easy, but Earth is our birthright. Alan was the first to stand. I'm in. Greg stood next. Count me in. Throughout the hall, people rose to their feet. Young men and women who had never seen Earth except in pictures. Older folks who remembered the blue skies and green fields of their lost home. Dr. Lisa Ward, head of the Colonial Medical Center, joined them. My team will begin preparations immediately. Later that day, Alan Rodriguez met with Admiral Collins in the engineering bay. Around them, technicians were already at work, building prototypes and running simulations. During our initial surveys of New Eden, we found traces of ancient alien technology, Alan explained, showing Collins a strange metal device. We've been studying it for years. I think we can adapt it to penetrate Vexar shields. Collins examined the device. How soon? Can you have working prototypes? 3 months, maybe less with additional resources. You'll have whatever you need. Across the colony, Greg Martinez set up a new training facility. He named his Special Forces unit the Earthborn Reclaimers, though none of them had actually been born on Earth. Day and night, they trained in simulations based on the Pathfinder's data about the Vexar. They're stronger than us, Greg told his troops. Their exoskeletons provide natural armor, but they've never faced determined human resistance. They think we're weak because we left Earth. We're going to show them how wrong they are. In the AudioBook Medical Center, Lisa Ward and her team worked on understanding Vexar biology from the limited data available. Their respiratory system is different from ours, she explained to her staff. They breathe through spiracles along their bodies. That might give us an advantage if we can develop the right kind of airborne countermeasures. Meanwhile, Samantha Miller couldn't sleep. Every night, she stared at the ceiling, thinking about her brother Ryan in the hands of the Vexar. During the day, she helped coordinate the building of a new communications array that would allow the human fleet to stay in contact across the vast distance to Earth. In secret orbital shipyards, construction began on a battle fleet. The centerpiece was a massive dreadnought named Retribution. Resources that had been earmarked for colonial expansion were diverted to the war effort. People donated personal items made of valuable metals. Everyone contributed what they could. 3 months passed, then 6. The colonies transformed from peaceful settlements into a war machine driven by a single purpose: reclaiming Earth. Admiral Collins addressed the colonies again, this time from the bridge of the Retribution. His uniform was crisp, his eyes clear and determined. 75 years ago we left Earth because we had to, he said. We left behind the graves of our ancestors. We left behind our history. We left behind the world that gave birth to humanity. Broadcast reached every home, every public square across the 3 colonies. Children sat with their parents, listening intently. We believed Earth was protected by our warnings and our automated defenses. We were wrong. The Vexar came and took what wasn't theirs to take. They killed our people, they imprisoned our explorers. They are stripping our homeworld bare. Collins paused, looking directly into the camera. Tomorrow we return, not as refugees fleeing a dying world, not as the desperate remnants of a failed civilization. We return as the rightful guardians of Earth. We return with resolve. We return with purpose. His voice grew stronger. Remember Earth's blue oceans. Remember its green forests. Remember its mountains and valleys and plains. Remember what was stolen from us. Remember what we fight to reclaim. Throughout the colonies, people watched in solemn silence. Many wept. Some prayed. Others stood tall, their faces set with determination. Some of us will not return from this mission, Collins continued. But those who fall will do so knowing they fought for something greater than themselves. They fought for Earth. They fought for humanity's birthright. He raised his hand in salute. Operation Homecoming begins at dawn. May God be with us all. As the broadcast ended, celebrations broke out across the colonies. Not joyful celebrations, but the solemn gathering of a people united in purpose. Songs were sung about Earth. Stories were told of its beauty. Children too young to remember asked questions about the world they were going to fight for. On the Retribution, Alan Rodriguez supervised the installation of his new weapon systems. The designs were based on the ancient alien technology, modified to target Vexar vulnerabilities. Greg Martinez briefed his reclaimer teams one final time. Our primary mission is to establish ground bases and locate human prisoners. Intelligence suggests Commander Miller and Specialist Garcia are being held at a facility in what used to be North America. In the medical bay, Lisa Ward checked her supplies of newly developed medical countermeasures. Her team had created treatments for potential Vexar biological weapons and chemicals. Admiral Collins stood alone in his quarters, looking at an old photograph of Earth taken during the Exodus. The blue planet seemed so small, so fragile in the blackness of space. "We're coming home," he whispered. At dawn, the fleet departed. 5,000 ships, ranging from the massive Retribution to small fighters, 20,000 soldiers, engineers, medics, communications specialists, the largest force humanity had assembled since leaving Earth. As they jumped to light speed, a single thought united them all. Earth belonged to humanity, and they would take it back with unstoppable fury. After 3 weeks of travel through space, the human fleet emerged from light speed at the edge of Earth's solar system. Admiral Collins stood on the bridge of the Retribution, his heart pounding as the blue planet appeared on the main screen. Even from this distance, the scars of Vexar mining were visible, brown gashes across continents that had once been green. "Maintain stealth protocols," Collins ordered. "All ships dark until my command." The fleet moved slowly through the outer reaches of the solar system, using the gravity of planets to mask their approach. Jupiter's massive pull helped hide them from Vexar sensors. As they passed Mars, they got their first clear look at the enemy. Hundreds of Vexar ships surrounded Earth. Massive mining platforms hovered in low orbit. Transport vessels moved between the surface and larger ships carrying extracted resources. "My God," whispered Collins. "There are more of them than we thought." Captain Julia Bennett stood beside him. At 35, she was one of the youngest captains in the fleet, but also one of the most skilled. Sir, our long-range scans have located a prison facility in orbit near what used to be the North American continent. It's likely where they're holding the Pathfinder survivors. Collins nodded. Prepare a rescue team. You'll lead it, Captain. Yes, sir. Julia left the bridge to assemble her team. The fleet took position behind Earth's moon, hidden from Vexar sensors. From there, they launched small scout ships to gather more information. The scouts returned with detailed scans of Vexar positions and, most importantly, confirmation that human prisoners were being held in the orbital facility. Inside the launch bay of the Retribution, Captain Bennett briefed her rescue team. 20 soldiers in stealth suits checked their weapons, new designs created by Alan Rodriguez that could penetrate Vexar armor. Our mission is simple, Julia said. Get in, free the prisoners, get out. No heroics. The main fleet won't engage until we're clear. The rescue ship, a small stealth vessel named Whisper, detached from the Retribution and moved silently toward the Vexar prison. Using the debris field from destroyed satellites as cover, they approached undetected. Docking in 30 seconds, the pilot announced. Julia took a deep breath. Helmets on, weapons hot. The Whisper attached to an emergency airlock on the prison's outer hull. Cutting tools sliced through the metal, and within minutes the rescue team was inside. The Vexar prison was a nightmare of metal corridors and strange smells. The team moved cautiously, following the life signs detected by their scanners. They encountered 2 Vexar guards at a junction and quickly took them down with silent shots. Life signs stronger this way, whispered the team's scanner operator, pointing left. They found the cell block, a circular room with transparent pods along the walls. Most pods were empty, but 2 contained human figures. Julia rushed to the nearest pod. Inside was a man, thin and pale, with haunted eyes. Commander Ryan Miller. The second pod held a woman in similar condition, Specialist Heather Garcia. Get them out, Julia ordered. As the team worked to open the pods, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed in the corridors. We've been made, Julia said. Move faster. The pods hissed open. Ryan and Heather were weak, barely able to stand. Their bodies showed signs of experimentation. Strange marks on their skin, surgical scars. Can you walk? Julia asked them. Ryan nodded weakly. Been waiting for you? The team helped the prisoners toward the exit, but Vexar soldiers were already converging on their position. Gunfire erupted in the corridors. The human weapons worked as designed, penetrating the Vexar's natural armor, but there were too many of them. We're cut off from the Whisper, reported a soldier. Julia thought quickly. Secondary exit route, through the maintenance shafts. They crawled through narrow tunnels, half carrying the weakened prisoners. Behind them, the sounds of Vexar pursuit grew louder. Finally, they reached an exterior airlock. Whisper, we need. Pick up at the eastern quadrant, Julia called over her comm. The stealth ship appeared moments later, hovering outside the airlock. The team boarded quickly, Ryan and Heather safely secured inside. As the Whisper pulled away, the Vexar prison erupted with activity. Enemy ships launched in pursuit. Admiral, Julia called to the Retribution. We have the package, but we've lost stealth. Request support. Colin's voice came through clearly. Support inbound, Captain. Hold tight. From behind the moon, 3 human destroyers appeared, opening fire on the pursuing Vexar vessels. The Whisper slipped through the chaos and returned, to the safety of the main fleet. In the medical bay of the Retribution, Lisa Ward examined Ryan and Heather. Both were malnourished and traumatized. Ryan had strange implants in his skull that the Vexar had used to extract information. Heather's arms showed evidence of repeated tissue sampling. They treated us like lab specimens, Ryan told Admiral Collins, his voice hoarse. They wanted to know everything about human physiology, our technology, our colonies. Did you tell them? Collins asked quietly. Ryan shook his head. We fed them false information when we could. But their methods... He stopped, unable to continue. Heather spoke up, her voice stronger than her appearance suggested. "They're arrogant, Admiral. They believe we abandoned Earth for good. They don't expect us to fight for it." Collins nodded grimly. "That's their mistake." The rescue mission had sacrificed the element of surprise. The Vexar now knew humans had returned. Their ships formed defensive patterns around Earth, and more were arriving from deeper in the system. On the bridge of the Retribution, the command staff gathered to review the situation. "Their fleet outnumbers ours 3-1, reported the tactical officer, "and ground scans show they have extensive forces on the surface." Collins studied the holographic display showing enemy positions. "We don't need to defeat their entire fleet. We just need to establish a foothold. Captain Bennett, prepare your strike teams for lunar deployment. We'll take the moon first." Within hours, the Battle of Luna began. Human forces landed on the far side of the moon and quickly established a base. Alan Rodriguez's weapons proved highly effective against Vexar shields. For the first time, the aliens faced an enemy who could hurt them. From the lunar base, Greg Martinez led the first reclaimer teams to Earth's surface. Using stealth shuttles, they landed in remote areas and began guerrilla operations against Vexar mining facilities. On the Retribution, Ryan Miller provided valuable intelligence about Vexar operations as he recovered from his captivity. "Their Central Command is located in what used to be the Pacific Northwest," he told Collins. "Seattle area. That's where the Supreme Commander will be." Lisa Ward established field hospitals on the moon, treating the first casualties of the war. Through blood samples from injured Vexar, she made a surprising discovery. "Their immune system has a fundamental weakness," she told Collins. "They have no defense against certain Earth microbes. We might be able to use that." The Vexar response to the human attack was one of disbelief, followed by rage. They had never expected the humans to return. Now they faced an enemy fighting with unexpected fury for a world the Vexar had considered abandoned waste. As the battle for Earth's moon raged, the Vexar Supreme Commander sent an urgent message to their homeworld. "The humans have returned. Send reinforcements, all available ships." The war for Earth had begun. 2 weeks into the war for Earth, the tide began to turn. The Vexar reinforcements arrived, a massive fleet that outnumbered the human forces 5-1. As the enemy ships emerged from light speed, a hush fell over the bridge of the Retribution. "So many," whispered a junior officer. Admiral Collins stood tall, his face revealing nothing of the fear he felt inside. "It changes nothing. Earth is ours and we will take it back." In the medical bay, Ryan Miller watched the enemy fleet on a screen, while Dr. Lisa Ward checked his vital signs. The implants had been removed from his skull, but he still suffered from headaches and nightmares. "I overheard them talking when they thought I couldn't understand," Ryan said. "Their Supreme Commander is coming personally to deal with us. They call him Vrax. He's the one who first discovered Earth after we left." Lisa looked up from her work. "You should be resting." "I'll rest when Earth is free." Ryan stood up, steadier now than he had been days ago. "I need to speak with the Admiral. I know how their command structure works." On Earth's surface, Greg Martinez and his reclaimer teams had established hidden bases in the ruins of old human cities. From abandoned subways and sewer systems, they launched hit-and-run attacks on Vexar mining operations. Local resistance had grown as they discovered small communities of humans, descendants of those who had stayed behind during the Exodus. "My great-grandmother told stories about the ships leaving," said a woman named Kate, who led one of these communities. "We always hoped someone would come back someday." Greg's team provided them with weapons and training. Soon, these Earthborn humans joined the fight, their knowledge of the changed landscape proving invaluable. In what was once Seattle, the Vexar Supreme Commander Vrax established his headquarters in a massive tower built from Earth metals. From there, he directed the counterattack against the human forces. "These creatures are persistent," Vrax clicked to his commanders. "But they are fighting for a world that no longer exists. Earth is ours now." Admiral Collins called his top officers to the war room on the Retribution. Captain Bennett, Alan Rodriguez, Lisa Ward, and the recovered Ryan Miller gathered around a holographic map of Earth. "The enemy has us outnumbered, but we have 3 advantages," Collins said. "First, we have better knowledge of Earth's terrain. Second, Rodriguez's weapons can penetrate their shields. And third, they don't understand what drives us. He turned to Lisa. Doctor, what about that weakness you discovered? Lisa nodded. We've developed a biological agent that disrupts their neural networks. It won't kill them, but it will disorient them, make it hard for them to coordinate. We can disperse it through Earth's atmosphere. And I've been working on something else, said Alan Rodriguez. Automated drones that can use Earth's electromagnetic field against their ships. The planet itself becomes our weapon. Collins looked at the holographic Earth slowly rotating before them. It's time for Operation Thunderstrike. Captain Bennett, you'll lead the space assault. Martinez and his teams will target the Seattle Command Center. Dr. Ward, prepare your biological agent for deployment. Rodriguez, get your drones ready. In the communications center, Heather Garcia had made a crucial breakthrough. Despite her ordeal as a prisoner, she had thrown herself into work, using what she had learned about Vexar technology during captivity. I can break into their communication network, she told Collins. We can feed them false orders, create confusion in their ranks. The next day, Operation Thunderstrike began. Human ships emerged from behind Earth's moon in a coordinated attack. At the same time, Martinez and his reclaimer teams, strengthened by Earth-born humans, launched their assault on the Seattle Command Center. The Vexar responded with overwhelming force, but then Lisa's biological agent was released into Earth's atmosphere. The effect was immediate. Vexar ground troops began moving erratically, unable to coordinate. Their ships lost formation as pilots struggled to maintain control. Alan's drones swarmed around the larger Vexar vessels, using the planet's natural electromagnetic field to disrupt their systems. Captain Bennett's fighters targeted the weak points Ryan had identified in the enemy ships. On the ground, Greg Martinez led his team through the ruins of Seattle toward the command tower. The fighting was intense. Several reclaimers fell to Vexar weapons, but the humans pressed forward, driven by a fury that the aliens could not understand. In orbit, the Retribution engaged the flagship of Supreme Commander Vrax. Collins directed the battle from the bridge, his voice calm despite the chaos around him. They're retreating in Sector 7, reported the tactical officer. Press the advantage, Collins ordered. Don't let them regroup. The space battle raged for hours. Human ships, though fewer in number, fought with a determination that surprised the Vexar. Alan's drones disabled enemy vessels one by one. Heather's false communications sent Vexar ships into confusion, sometimes firing on their own allies. In Seattle, Greg's team finally breached the command tower. They fought their way up level by level, joined by more resistance fighters as they ascended. At the top, they found Supreme Commander Vrax, surrounded by his elite guards. You fight for dust, Vrax clicked at them. This world is dead. You killed it before you left. No, Greg said, raising his weapon. Earth lives, and it's not yours to take. The battle for the command center was fierce. Greg lost half his remaining team before they finally subdued Vrax and his guards. Admiral, Greg called over his comm. We have the Supreme Commander. In orbit, the tide had turned decisively. Without central coordination, the Vexar fleet fell into disarray. The automated drones overwhelmed their defenses. The biological agent affected even their shipboard crews. On the bridge of the Retribution, Collins received word of Greg's success. All ships push forward. This ends today. The Battle of Terra, as it would later be called, lasted another 6 hours. When it was over, the remaining Vexar ships fled the solar system, abandoning their mining operations and their captured leader. In what had once been Central Park in New York, Admiral Collins stood on Earth's soil for the first time. Around him, the land was scarred by mining operations, but the sky above was clear of enemy ships. Earth is free, he announced to the assembled troops and resistance fighters. But our work is just beginning. In the months that followed, humans from the colonies began to return to Earth. The Earth Restoration Project was established, with Lisa Ward leading efforts to heal the environmental damage. Alan Rodriguez adapted Vexar mining technology to clean up the pollution they had left behind. The Vexar Supreme Commander Vrax was kept as a prisoner, eventually providing valuable information about other worlds the Vexar had stripped of resources. Humanity would not allow such destruction to happen again. 1 year after Operation Thunderstrike, a small ceremony was held in the ruins of Seattle. A young girl, the granddaughter of Olivia Winters, who had documented the original Exodus, planted the first tree of the restoration effort. As the sapling took root in Earth's soil, Admiral Collins spoke the words that would become famous across human space. Earth was abandoned once, but never again. We have returned with the fury of those who fight for home, and we will never leave again.